Watched a little video on Pluto. The kid was doing a thing showing and explaining everything. How gravity was being weird. They thought it was a little black hole with the moon and everything. It's the oblong thing. Well, it's because gravity's being different there because of the grouping of the you have the sun here, then you have these other these bigger ones and stuff. So the way Pluto and its moon are acting, I don't think it would be that weird because you're looking at a different, like Haile Selassie talked about balance and harmony and stuff. And he said, the way people see things, like in balance and all this, he goes, well, look at the way the moon is and the earth, and then the tilted on its axis. And, so in order for gravity to work properly, it has to bring all things into perspective, into account. The nice thing about gravity is it works, right? And so you go around looking at it, you go, wow, that's neat. Look at that. Wow. And it's neat to see the way that the stuff all goes together and does what it does to maintain life. And you look at it and just go, wow, it's neat the way that we're able to be. It's how a pond can exist without people coming along and building a racetrack or a resort on it, right? On Golden Ponder. And so when you sit there, the nice thing about gravity is it works. Yeah. Hey, you look at a lot of stuff and they explain to you a lot of stuff. It's, well, yeah, naturally, of course, because, it's proximity there to the sun with this. And then, so there's a lot of things that go on and you go, well, yeah, that makes sense. A lot of stuff just makes sense. Like I talked to John about that stuff at the NASA Museum, it's like, okay, let's live the Lord's Prayer first. Let's apply the Lord's Prayer in physics first. And then we'll pay attention to what's going on outside of, But let's understand and respect and obey the laws required for Earth to have apple pie and snuggles. Hot dogs, and, hot dogs really aren't that good. And Chevrolet, we can do without it, And baseball's fun, but money's not real, so quit being wackadoodles. Baseball can be fun. It can be very dangerous, okay? And if you do it too much, it can be very hard on the body, Tommy John surgery, all that crap, I just don't think those kids should be, throwing that much. You ever thrown a ball? Rotator cuff? No, you keep throwing. When I shoot my shots, I get out there and I shoot for about an hour, maybe sometimes an hour and a half if I'm feeling skippity, right? Because I'm 59 years old and I'm horrifically abused and poisoned by scientists testing me. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? And then once they did that, then they put me in little conditions where I'm like, okay, now you're like one of the poor people. I said, yeah, I get it. And so, but this still, and then they offered me money to join the Temple Set Illuminati, and then I could get into places where me and my dad could have a more comfortable existence. But, the Lord's Prayer, right? And so, is it tempting? No, not really, no. It's more irritating than tempting. When they did that, did they really mean it? That's irrelevant. The fact is that I just was irritated and said no. Okay, no, Lord's Prayer. The fuck's wrong with you? The Temple Set Illuminati is they're a bad group of people. The military is just broken. And as far as fixing, they're gonna have to fix themselves. Forgive debt and trespass, love, one eternal, faithful peace. Courage, kindness, caring. Abraham and Muhammad didn't have a draft. Okay, when they're before the Medina Charter, the men in Medina got together and protected everybody from the rogue, violent sex cult hordes. The small Genghis Khan group in Mecca, because they knew what the fuck they were dealing with. And they were like, no, we don't want that. Right? So they got together. So there were Jews and Christians and then these Muslims who were challenging their perception of faith, because they're saying, hey, we gotta, we gotta walk this, we gotta do this. And he did it, I remember I told you guys the one story about the man that in Medina that put his garbage on Muhammad's doorstep. And that was garbage, back then was kind of, And Muhammad would pick it up and take it to where people take the garbage. And the man stopped showing up. And so Muhammad went to go see if the man was sick. And he said, well, I thought you were sick, so you couldn't get your garbage, so I came to pick it up. Was he sarcastic? There's a leak under the toilet. I thought I'd slide down here and check it out. Yeah, Muhammad, my dad, Isaac, yeah, there was a little, he knew. Okay. But he just flipped the script, right? And because he's just that type of person. And he has, I do that often too. And it's just a way to, because I'm the type of person, I will engage you and I will invite you to join the Gospels, to live religion, It's not an invention, okay? I did not invent Pluto. I did not invent Mars, okay? So God is the essence of existence, right? And so I did not invent gravity. I did not invent photosynthesis, so religion, when you understand Genesis, when you understand it, you get a lot of this, the people that wrote down the books and incorporated religion are not the people that are responsible for people being religious, right? Like Suzuki talked about, like Judah Krishnamurti talked about, when they took him back to India, and all these gurus and all this following, and it drove him nuts. And he said, I have no desire to have this following and be this guru. All I hope is that people can enlighten themselves and live freedom from human delusions of authority and governing bodies that say, okay, you need to get permission, because when you enlighten people and they understand eternity and natural laws, like Judah said in 1936 in Australia, when you do this, the present civilization, it can, the Mr. Moto movies, I was watching some Peter Lorre and Mr. Moto movies. Dang, I used to watch those as a kid and think, oh, that'd be horrible to have to be in that kind of career field, to be that, anybody can kill you at any time. You have these ancient artifacts. Thank you, Mr. Moto, he takes the thing and he burns it to keep the ancient burial site of the Chinese people safe. Okay? It's like, safe from what? Let the dead bury the dead. Okay. If there are ancient artifacts in that thing, that if you could take them and you could cash them in and you could take all these people out of peeping out of poverty, give it to the poor, right? Okay, that's why you forgive, doesn't trespass, love, and so no faithful peace. Share, care, give, and cause need built to last. Okay. Actual value, when you look at life eternally, the present civilization, it cannot last, is based on human greed and not human need, right? And human need, what it says in the books, God is, the Lord understands, okay, the Lord understands natural laws, and God has given you what you need through creation is the basic, I guess that's a fundamental way of saying it for people to understand, okay? Now, the physics of it are, you have natural laws given to you by an infinite essence to have an eternal existence through holy covenants of sexual reproduction, because you honor one another and then you don't do things violent, aggressive, and try to take what you want. It's just, so you see what I'm saying? And so it's, shimmy, whammy, bim, bam, boom. Surrounded by animals. It's really difficult to sit down and get people to actually function in a rational, logical, reasonable, understanding of humility of this of faith. It's hard because they're just like, what the possessive pronoun me this and first person me that. Looks about and it's really hard on my dad because he's a stout biblical follower. And his son, can take the hypocrisy and the propaganda and just obliterate it. And then people feel like my boy Tony at Mesa Community College and at Sam Goody Music Land in Fiesta Mall that's not there anymore, but he used to sit there, and I told him about the stuff, and we were talking. He says, "No, it's like my professor. He was supposed to be Buddhist. You're like him. I don't want to know." I was like, "What do you mean you don't want to know? I don't want you to take what I believe in and break it down into nonsense, because then I have nothing at all." It's like, I'm not breaking it down into nonsense. I'm trying to explain to you. He might be doing that, but I'm not doing that. Okay? Okay. When your faith is based on reality, it's not nonsense. Okay. And if you're basing it off of fantasy and mythology, then your faith is based on nothing at all. It's just something you invented that you think you believe in. Ragnarok. There goes Apollo. He's raising the sun, and you see what I'm saying? And those crazy wackadoodles in Mesoamerica that mass murdered people through propaganda because the earth needed more blood to feed it, so the sun would come up the next day, and all that crazy kind of shit. No more. No more of that. Yes, I say. You show that with that propaganda on that Wakanda movie that they have. But do you know, if you go read the dissertations and the things about what happened with the Tlaxcalans, with the Aztecas, and telling Hernan Cortez and his conquistadors, he said, these people, okay, once you go in, we're all in. Okay, we have to finish this out, because if we don't defeat them, they'll kill everybody. And it's like, well, you should know this. The Romans would crucify everybody from the towns. It's okay. You see what I'm saying? In order to keep their violent sexual dominance, they'll eradicate us all from the face of the planet. They'll kill our littlest baby and our oldest lady. Okay? And so Cortez was like, shit, we're all in. Okay? Most of it was probably greed because of all the treasures and the artists and things they saw, because they knew if they took this back to Spain that they would be royalty forever, right? Which is insane, because money's not of any intrinsic value. It's just human greed, not human need, right? But insanity, it seems to be propaganda on the left and propaganda on the right and propaganda up the middle and propaganda up your woo-woo and up your ass and in your pills you take to screw yourself to death while you kill yourself making money in a city that's killing you with an industrial revolution. Wow! So weak science isn't a bad thing. It's what we do with science, okay? And you cannot blame science for what people do in the name of science. Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Tularosa, SR-71, U-2, NSA, DARPA, all that shit. You know what I'm saying? You cannot blame science for what assholes do with science to keep us fighting over money, to say, I am authority, I own the planet. Which is bullshit, right? And so somebody's got to get up and talk about, I know, my mom, Earl, they'll kill you. They've been really shitty to me, and it's really hard. It's really uncomfortable, and it affects my poor dad. It's hard on him. And you can only imagine what it's like to be the father of the Messiah praying to Jesus as a God and having to feel the torture of the man who's like Jesus and not believing in the man who's like Jesus, but believing in the God that you're praying to that's supposed to keep your son safe from his ego. And it's really hard on my pops. And I wish a lot of you would step up for the Lord's Prayer so he could feel that, because he raised me. You guys killed my mom with the Temple Set Illuminati and all that to try to get me to hate my father because of the horrible conditions my parents were put in because of economic conflict and home invasion through science projects. And look what it did with affecting me, married to little old Miss Sweet Amy, and poor abused Steffi, and Law, who wanted to marry me but thought I was a loser because I had too much religious dogma in me. I was Pollyanna and saw the world through rose-colored glasses. This Pollyanna can sure kick your rose-colored gases up your ass and around the planet and back away. Oh, we've been all the way to Pluto and back, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Okay, kick your ass with your lie. You show me lie, I'm gonna kick it, right? I said that's and have to send that rocket off, which can't be real healthy for our planet, you know. So, and if we need to do something, we'll do it. If we don't need to do something, guess again. Guess again. You're a guess again. You got insurance? I guess not. Your insurance is the Lord's Prayer. Now, count on it. Stand up for it. Do it. All right? I love you guys. Load this one quicker, okay, you little peckerwoods?